Welcome back to Marathon Money, everybody. And I'm here with Cary from wickedstocks.com. And it's been a hell of a Monday, hasn't it been, Cary?
Has been.
Man, it's crazy. Overnight, I woke up at 2 a.m. and I was like, is the futures down? Like Nasdaq was almost down 1,000% on the futures. You know what I mean? The S&P was down huge, and I was like, what's going on? But I guess it was about the DeepSeek. Am I correct?
Yes. Chinese AI stock, surprising the world.
Yeah, they gave us a whirlwind, but I don't really have strong faith in it right now. I just think a lot of it's a lot of hoopla. You know what I mean?
It's
Try to
definitely serving, scaring the longs out of their positions. Anybody who's been a little apprehensive is running for cover, and that's just what's fueling the sell-off right now. But I agree with you. I think it's a spook. The tree's getting shaken, and bottom pickers are waiting below.
100%, 100%. And I think a lot of people sold off prematurely. Now there's like a big gap in the Nasdaq, big gap in the Dow, big gap in the S&P. And I'm gonna do a quick overview what I see real quick. The
Hmm.
obviously, just to get my trend line going. You can see right here. It's still above the trend. It's still going up. You see the gap. You see the gap from today happen
Hmm.
from last night, from Friday. We closed at 529, and today we're at like 511, 514. So I don't really think those things are gonna hold up, but it was a scare, and I think for people that are not in, that's a buying opportunity to get in the QQQ. Even if we do a quick check of the S&P 500, the charts, all the charts pretty much look the same. The QQQ, they all have that same gap down. The QQ is the Nasdaq, S&P is 500, and just a quick look at the Dow, and um, just to let everybody. Let me see. This is not the Dow I want. Well, for some reason, the Dow is not coming up for me. So we're
I
going to
do
have to
have the
move that.
DIA. By the way, I have the
Oh,
DIA, the
okay.
ETF, ready to
All right.
chart. So.
You can have
hmm.
that one. So
I
got
can
you up
jump into that.
here.
Well, the Dow is a very different beast right now than the other two indexes. I also have NVIDIA that I can show in a bit as well. Where is the Dow? The DIA. This is the only chart I have of the DIA. This is a weekly chart. Now, the DIA is the most actively traded Dow Jones Industrial Average ETF. It's a tradable instrument. Actually, the Dow is showing a breakout. First time this week. This is a weekly chart. So we topped out of this descending channel top last week in the Dow. We closed right at it. And now we're actually pushing through it. The Dow is like, I'm going to have none of this. Looking for continued gains, 465.83. That's roughly 47,000 in the Dow. Support here, 443.31. That's roughly 44,000, 45,000 in support. So holding above 443.31 does keep 465.83, I think, as a realistic 1 to 2 month target. So the Dow is showing strength. Can I segue to NVIDIA real quick?
Yeah, 100%. NVIDIA took the biggest hit today.
Yeah. Well, here's a weekly NVIDIA chart. So this is the shaking of the tree, so to speak. We closed today below this horizontal channel bottom. This is your resistance now near term. 127.07 can contain buying into February, and below which, with present volatility, we just might see this 104.47 this week. And this is like a 6-9 month channel bottom. I see this as a trend defining floor of support. I think this is where this market is going. If it's not in 2 to 3 days, it's in within 2 to 3 weeks, holding below 127.07. I have 104.47 as an objective. At 144.47, any shorts in the market can cover, and they can also reverse. This is where bottom picking, I think, can occur. 104.47 for NVIDIA, a solid zone to buy into. As we move into the second quarter, we can round up to new highs even over the following 2 to 3 months. Now, I show this chart also that it does get pretty darn ugly for NVIDIA if we were over the next few weeks to close below 104.47. Then I see 73.58 set up as the next objective. That's probably more in the order of 2 to 3 months as this market then sort of gets depleted. Average daily range narrows. This could take a while, but 104.47 is an objective. Until then, this is just shaking out longs. And long entry, then an opportunity at 104.47. If we can close, then that's not going to happen this week. But over the next week or two, if we reject this sell signal below 127.07 and close back above it, I see that as a good first quarter low. We should push back into the mid 150s again within 3 to 5 weeks, and even into the 160s, 170s as we find ourselves in the second quarter. That pretty much rounds out NVIDIA.
I see no reason to sell NVIDIA. Like nothing has been proven with this new AI China came out. Nothing's been proven yet. Everything is just hearsay. We
I
don't
see
know if they're
technically a near-term sell signal. So
yeah.
if you're looking between now and the middle of February, I see it as a sell opportunity at 104.47. But your overall synopsis, I think, is correct. I see no good reason to be short NVIDIA. If your time horizon is 2 to 3 months out and beyond, you should stay in NVIDIA all the way down to 104.47, you know?
A 118.42 to me is buy as much as you can. I think NVIDIA is one of those companies where once it gets past 150, 160, I don't think it's coming back. I think we're probably, but this might be, I like to call these second chances. That's what I like to call these second chances. You know what I mean? These are second chances where you get an opportunity to be able to get into a company that you might not have any other chance to get into. Because when NVIDIA was at close to 2000, it was regular retail investors was not getting into that. So this might be a good opportunity to get in. Now you're all right. If it falls below 104, it might be a falling knife to the
I think that'll damage
low
NVIDIA
70s.
as a stock. I think, it's going to be a dog then into later year. But until then, this is your opportunity to get long if given the opportunity. I also want to mention, I show that on the left side of the screen, that we actually offer this Wicked Stocks for free every single day on our YouTube channel. So I just wanted to throw that out there for your viewers who want to stay tuned into NVIDIA. They can on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, definitely. I have checked out YouTube channel, and then those are very good for people that likes to do options. Right, get in, see what's going on for the day. But I think you're right about NVIDIA. If it falls below 104, I don't really think it's going to, because I already see momentum already picking up just by me looking at this accumulation indicator that I have. And it's already picking up close to the end of the day. Just the post market closed. It's already at 121. So I see a gap in the daily. Those gaps in an NVIDIA, like before, gets filled really, really quick. Upside and downside. Any gap you see on the chart, it gets filled up really, really quick. They don't last long. So the gap, closed Friday was 142. Like I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow at least half of that is recovered. From 121, probably see 135, 130 tomorrow. So that wouldn't really be a surprise. Probably the options premium is probably really expensive for this right now. What do you think?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, it's pumped up for sure.
For sure.
It's not a great time to buy options unless you're absolutely right on direction.
But man, what's next?
Okay. Well, let's see here. The S&P. I'll start with the weekly chart. This is a 1-year rising channel bottom, 5730.93 this week and rising. And as long as we're above 5730.93, we've got this very well-defined rally from the October 23 low that remains intact, momentum intact long term. Now, this upper area in the 6382 region, this is a 5-year channel top that I am anticipating in the months ahead, holding above 5730.93. And if you keep that in mind, I'm going to show you a SPY chart right now, daily SPY. Now, the SPY last Tuesday, a week ago tomorrow, closed above this descending channel top that indicated this 6,300 area roughly is 635.37 because it's the SPY, the ETF. But the point I'm trying to make here is this NVIDIA collapse merely allowed you to buy the SPY today at a really nice level. This is Monday's activity. We slipped back down to this channel support, 593, 93, 96, 22. This is an area I've been telling our subscribers to get long if given the opportunity, because from here, we can, over the next 3 to 5 weeks, by the end of February, push onward and upward to this 635.37 level. That 635.37 is in the SPY, the same exact formation that you find in the S&P 500 index at 6375.65. Apple, can I talk Apple real quick?
For sure.
Because yeah,
I think Apple's a buying opportunity right now.
It is actually the big picture. We had a buy signal in June. We fell back to support at 195.84 a few months later, but we tagged that 5-year channel top. So when I talk about this 5-year channel top, 261.97, we tested it about a month and a half ago. It is the exact same channel that we find in the S&P, well above the market at 63.75. So you obviously have Apple outperforming the S&P. Now, one of the things I've been telling our subscribers is that holding below this low 260s 5-year channel top does not indicate, but does allow this market to deteriorate back into the upper 170s. I don't see this as a likelihood, 177.07, unless we were to close this week below this channel bottom at 220.86. So I'm kind of catching you up here. We've been telling our subscribers, following the testing of 261.97, we had this channel bottom as an objective. We tagged it last week. This was an area we told to reverse and go long. If you're a 2 to 3 month position trader, you're buying the low 220s now in Apple, anticipating a return to the low 260s. We could fill this wedge out for the next few months. But yes, if we were to close this week, for instance, below 20.86, we have a significant sell signal into the second quarter. Over the next 3 to 5 months, I would expect that 177.07 as a long-term support level. But until then, I agree with you. I think Apple was a buy last week. It's a buy this week at 220.86. And I see this market likely to continue back into the low 260s over the next 2 to 3 months or sooner. And that pretty much rounds out Apple.
No, Apple to me is one of those things I got in definitely today because I saw an opportunity to get in that, and that might be the play of the hold. I think we might see a breakout above that 261. Yeah, right now is at that cherry picking opportunity that rarely people get to see, or they only get to see for a few seconds. So
you've got a buy signal today above the 227.03 level. That is the high of last week's low. From here, you've got, Fibonacci levels all the way up that can contain daily, if not weekly, buying pressures. But I agree with you. This was an opportunity to go long. And from here, we should push back into the low 260s over the next 2 to 3 months or so. And that's something else that we cover every week. We have a weekly Apple stock video that we put out, and this is consistent with everything we've been saying. So I agree with you. Having bought Apple today, I think was a good move. I think within a couple of months, you could see the low 260s.
Definitely, 100%. I wanted to quickly go over Serve real quick, Serve Robotics, before you move on to the next one. Is that okay?
Oh yeah.
So if anybody don't know, Serve Robotics is actually a AI company, AI infrastructure company that is a robotics company that uses to serve restaurants, hospitalities, and basically anything in the service business, and they're doing pretty well. They got a lot of contracts going on, but I really like the chart. And today was an extremely buying opportunity for anybody who wants to get in. As you see, I marked the higher lows that have been going on since December. This is the daily chart, by the way: 839, 1081, 1339, 1518, and then 1635. This is actually a little bit lower right there, but these are higher lows. I think tomorrow is just going to be a clean skyrocket. Obviously, you can see the post right now. People are just chomping at the bits to really eat this up, this 1711. So people are just really just coming in and just buying as much as they can, because there's extremely amount of value in this company right now. And for people, I like to use this indicator to determine accumulation, and accumulation for me, for institutional buying. I like to use this just to get an idea who's buying this thing, and who's buying a stock. And obviously, right now, you kind of see is at that teetering, heading towards that. I wouldn't be surprised if it starts heading towards the 10 million accumulation area by tomorrow. Um, I think this stock in the middle of February is probably going to be around 26, $27 um, for this company. I don't know what you think, Cary.
What's the symbol on that?
It's
If
SERV.
Okay, there we go. Serve robotics. So I see. Interesting. It's not been around a while, has it?
No, it
Um,
hasn't.
yeah. Well, you've got this old high. I'm looking at a weekly chart here. I don't know if you're. So we double top there about a month ago, and yeah, I'm just trying to get a handle here. And you've got this channel that we settled above. This was a buy signal from me if I were watching at the time, and I was not. But this was back in middle of December, and we basically rallied back up to the high. And so I see a solid support at 1435. Actually, it's probably lower than the support you have, but I don't. I see this as a good stock above 1435. I think from here we can round back up to the 24 area. And you'd mentioned at this point in time, I do see, you've got 27, 26. This is this week's channel top, and this is climbing. So, I've got several buy signals on the way up, but I'll let me just simplify this, that if we were, and this is kind of resistance now, we've got 2185. Let's disregard this double top. I always see double tops as just inevitably violated on their next attempt because the triple top is so rare. So for me, looking at this chart, you have this newly formed 3-week channel top. This is resistance for the week, 2185. Next week, 2248 can contain weekly highs. If we close this week above 2185, within 2 or 3 weeks with present volatility, I would expect this upper 20s, this newly formed rising channel top. So that's your resistance. But in terms of support, all day long, 1435, I see as a solid zone to buy into. If we close back below this channel, we can collapse back into the $8, $9
Oh, a
region.
hundred
You know,
percent, 100%.
yeah.
It's just at
hmm
this point, it's just seeing if we can get back to what we were on Friday at the $20 mark, and see how long that takes. But if we close this week just above $20, 21, well, I would say $21, you're probably gonna see a good shot up to like 24, 25. You know what I mean? And that's where you really
Yeah.
want to be. So
hmm
it closes above the old high 24, that old
Yeah,
high.
2435 and
Yeah,
2435, 2409. I agree this thing can run. Actually, I would look at that classic sort of full swing
yeah,
as a sort of an accelerated A B pattern all the way up to 4183. Wouldn't surprise me within 2 to 3 months, perhaps 3 to 5 months of closing above a 2409. But if you're looking for kind of picking your spots near term, I would say there's a head fake waiting to be made above 24, at least near term, where you could test this 28, 27 area
yeah,
and then fall away again.
yeah. I think by end of February you could probably see a little bit above 24, 25, and then you'll see that head
Sure.
fake that you're talking about. You know what I
I
mean?
would agree with that.
That
Hmm.
so by end of February, you're probably going to see that, maybe even closer, depending on the volume that comes in. It seems that aftermarket volume is coming in really hot for this because it's still going up. Aftermarket, it went from 1657 on close to 722, right? 1722 right now. So
Hmm.
it's pretty. It's still seems people are buying it up as much as they can. Any other stock we want to go over?
Sure. Let's see here. We've got a couple you threw. Oh, well, here we go. Lululemon. Everybody knows the stock, right? Um, Athletica, symbol LULU. It's just like I was just scouting the charts this morning, and there's not a buy opportunity right now. We've got a nice run up in Lulu. We've got this congestive development, and at this point in time, just closing above this 420.56 horizontal channel top does indicate your next leg up. And so what we've seen really from the August 24 low to the December 24 high, this is about a 4 or 5 month move. Closing above 420.56, I see a 2 to 3 month move up to 503.75. And that's a solid 20% move. So closing above 420.56 this week does signal the 500, 503.75 level within about 2 to 3 months. Nice buy and hold for several months up to 503.75. This is a longer term resistance area. This channel top at 503.75, 3 or 4 years in the making, able to contain quarterly buying pressures when tested. I don't expect to see it unless we close above 420.56. Until then, we can top out here in the upper 410s, low 420s, and then fall away perhaps back to 367. We could continue to fill out this congestive framework for the next, I don't know, month or two, perhaps. But I do think the stock, this is just sort of a pause in what is probably a continued move to 503.75. You just can't really act on it, in my opinion, until or unless you close above 420.56. And
I
that's pretty
think
much.
when I look at Lululemon, and I like to look at like the daily and the weekly.
Mm-hmm.
You might be right about that congestion because they do on the daily. They do have this double top. Um, that is basically topped out of like 420, came back down and closed at like 404, and then they had another
Sure.
high at 414, and then today the selling pressure for today couldn't really try to make it because it tried to go over 408. So it's almost like there's a triple top here happening. We don't know what
Yeah, you do
tomorrow
have
is
a
going to
trend
bring.
line off the
Yeah,
highs.
there's a
Yeah,
trend off
exactly.
the highs. So, but the lows, they're all pretty even. There's not really a higher low forming. They're all pretty even now. It's like a straight low. If you look back in Friday, December 20th, the low was like 366, and then they
Right.
had another low at
366.95.
371, and then they
Mm-hmm.
had another low at 367. It's very close to each other. There's not a big gap that's showing a higher low. So that congestion that you're talking about, and if it's showing up in the weekly, not only that, I see a gap that happened, a gap up that happened on December 5th until December 6th. There's where it was at,
Oh, here, yeah.
yeah,
I see. Mm-hmm.
340, and it gapped up all the way to 409. I opened up at actually it opened up at 377. Like I was a $30 move. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I a lot of the times, to be honest with you, gaps tend to fill. So we might see that 373 um 5340 mark somewhere in the near future. Um, because I just see a downtrend on the weekly. I don't know if you're kind of saying the same thing
Well, I see
because I can
congestion
show.
and go
Yeah,
ahead.
I see congestion too, but when I
You've
do,
got descending highs.
yeah. So from here, and I'm looking at it, we never really we had that great run, from the August
Mm-hmm.
Monday 5th, we had that great run, but it never really topped back in December 18th, the 490, the 511.
Mm-hmm.
So there might be that. I know that congestion that you see right here, this right here,
Right.
that's the one that you're talking about. This is the congestion,
Is that a weekly
but
chart? No,
that's the
that's
weekly
that's
chart.
it.
That's the
Yeah.
weekly
Okay.
chart. That's the
Mm-hmm.
congestion you're talking about, and I completely understand that, and I do see that, and they still. That don't mean that it's gonna go lower. It's just when I usually see this right here, this part right there,
Mm-hmm.
when I usually see that, it's usually an indicator that there's just going to be a flat fall at one point. Because I think what happens to me over the years of just looking at these charts is people get tired of holding and then they just pull and they're just like, no, I'm moving on to something else. That's
Sure.
what I think, like the sentiment behind it. I mean, the psychology behind it. But that's just uh opinion on. Maybe you can probably elaborate what you think about that opinion.
Well, this is the daily chart. I do see the sort of sick, you got the high bearish rotation, bullish rotation, bearish rotation. There we get, the highs are getting lower than the highs and the lows are getting higher than the lows. So we've got this sort of narrowing. Um, to your point, though, I do see, I'm not convinced we're going to sell off unless we actually close below. I mean, before I was talking about, and this is the daily chart. So, this is my breakout right now would be above this band of channel resistance that on the weekly chart is 420.56. I am a buyer above 420.56. I think we have a 2 to 3 month rally into the low 500s. Until then, we could top out here. I wouldn't want to buy it in this zone or even where we're at now because I do think the susceptibility is to the downside now. We could rotate south. And in terms of southbound rotation, so to speak, it is this 360.83 and dropping that I see as the downward pivot as we move into February, March. Until then, I think you could bottom pick. Everybody's going to bottom pick the upper 360s. And then the head fake will occur below 368.66, which is that low. No, wait, the low is 366.95. We could break that low, tag 360.83, then round back up. We close back above these lows again, and then we've got another significant bullish rotation. You know what I mean?
No, that rotation that you're talking about is one thing I really like to pay attention to because you don't want to be
Mm-hmm.
buying at the top of that rotation, and that's when you kind of like you lose I wouldn't say motivation, but you lose confidence in the stock, and that's how people sell.
Sure.
Something that wasn't you weren't paying attention to the cycle. That cycle matters when you see that bullish, bearish, bullish, bearish, bullish. You got to really pay attention to that cycle, those cycles, and you can clearly see it on this daily chart. Going there's a bearish down, then it congested in the middle, then bullish up, and then the bearish down, congested a little bit, and then bullish up, and then it might be a pattern where it goes down and it goes touch back that 370 range, 360 range because that is
Mm-hmm.
picking area, and I believe that is, and that has been proven to be demand area as well. That's
Mm-hmm.
why I said earlier that I don't really think there's not really a high low or a low or lower lows. They're not. It's not really making that. It's just kind of just getting eating up right when it gets to that 360, 370 mark. People are just buying it the moment it touch. So
Right.
it just need either it could fall and that's why I said like sometimes when I see those things, I feel like people get tired of like that rotation and then they just move on to another stock. You get these long-term swing traders, or, you know what I mean, or long-term investors if it's like 6, 8, 9 months or a year and it's doing this because this can happen for a whole year.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so this is all just near term stuff, but I do think this is a setup for 503.75. It's just if you buy it in the 415, 420 area, you run the risk of falling all the way back into the 360s. And so I think your clear sign for a buy signal on strength is above this 420 area.
If you go back to Lululemon one more time, I wanted to like kind of push your point a little bit. If you go back in the chart backwards all the way to earlier, maybe around, you kind of see the same thing on the,
This is a
you kind
weekly
of see
chart.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of see that bullish, bearish, bullish, bearish, bullish, bearish gets stuck in this range and then finally breaks out. You know what I mean? It's like there's like that congestion in the middle, and then it finally just breaks out to the upper. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
you certainly saw it in here. You
yeah.
can see all kinds of congestive frameworks, right?
So it's all about
One,
being patient.
yeah, absolutely. You keep your powder dry, you buy above 420.56, and you're going to have a 2 to 3 week swing trader selling 415, 420 in anticipation of possible bearish rotation back into the 360s, Um, did you want to look at, you threw a couple stocks my way, York Water, or did you want to
Yeah,
look at,
we can look at
so
York Water.
it's been it's been in a bear market, really. I mean, you can go back to the 21 high, series of lower lows, lower highs. It gets into these congestive frameworks for weeks on end, and then it continues south, and it's kind of still in that pattern. Now, what I do have mapped out here, and this goes back to, this high goes back to 1997. There is, if tested in the coming months, the low 20s is a long-term support. Are we going to see it? You've got a descending channel bottom that is about 4 years in the making now, that will, April of 26, converge with all that. So this is all big picture stuff. One of the things I do think is worth mentioning is 29.15 is a 50% downside retracement from that 2000 low of $4.50 to the 21 all-time high of 53.70. I do have another chart that kind of zooms in all this. And inside of all that, you do have 29.15. You have a descending channel bottom at 30.35. This has actually been holding the lows pretty well the last 4 weeks. I do, and this is my take on York Water. I see it as a near-term buy opportunity at 30.35 and taking profits, a 10% move only into the 33.34 region. You've got this descending channel top that is also, it goes back to July of 24. This is an 8-9 month channel formation. If we can close above 34.52 in the weeks ahead, we've got a real buy signal on our hand as we move into the second quarter. But until then, I'd say you're buying the low 30s, selling, you're buying 30.35, you're selling 34.52. This area narrowing, that we could fill this out for the next month or two. If we do close below this channel bottom at 30.35, and it needs to be by a 1% margin because it's a long-term line study, then we could fall to that 26.82 channel bottom within a few months. And, I do like that 26.82 here. You can see that channel bottom way down here. But I mean, we're a long way from that right now. I don't know if you have any thoughts on any of this.
No, I do. I told a couple people that $30 mark, you're kind of buying into weakness because to me that's
Mm-hmm.
not really strong support. That $26 is the strong support. That's where the real
Right.
strong support is, 26.82. But if you buy 30, you're just taking the chance of buying into weakness, and
Right.
you're probably gonna get it's just gonna. I just don't see like you not falling the moment you buy. You're probably gonna see yourself a week later at $26. I just don't think it's that strong of a
Mm-hmm.
demand zone for you to be buying there. I feel like you should probably be patient, but truly, my overall of this company, and I don't know the ins and outs of it. I don't really think just by the chart and how long the downtrend has been happening on the daily and on the weekly. Um, this looked like it's heading towards my long-term view is look like it's heading towards $15, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion. Um, it seems like this company, it gives out dividends. It's a dividend company. It's just seems like it hasn't been doing great since 2021. In my From what I'm taking a look like on the weekly chart.
Sure. Yeah, we've been
And
in a bear market really since.
Yeah, and it's been not good, and it seems like it looks like Cary said, is the real demand zone is at $26. But if it doesn't hold that demand zone, there's no reason for it not to be at 15 really fast.
Yeah, I see exactly. I mean, I see what do we got? About 2087. I'm just going to round because it's kind of inconsequential right now, but this is your long-term support, the low 20s. And this area is all converging over time. It's going to be a year from now that it converges. That's how long-term this 5-year channel structure is. But I would be a buyer at 2682. I agree. And if you're bottom picking, this low 30 area, because that's a legitimate channel that goes back, gosh, April 23, almost 2 years. So it is a long term support. And we've been testing it and testing it and testing it. I think just closing above next week's or last week's high of 32 even should result in a 2 to 3 week pop to 34.52. But yeah, I this is not a compelling stock to own unless we get into the mid 20s. I think in the longer haul.
Yeah, I just had a ton of people ask me about that stock if this is going to turn around, and just by looking at the chart, it hasn't shown any reason for it to turn around. Even the when it does make highs, it doesn't break the old highs. So you kind of
Right.
just been in a really stagnant decline over the years.
Yeah. I agree. And if we were to close above that 34.52, you're really, just to kind of get rid of all this fluff, if you close above the 34.52, which is, a 6, 8, 9 month channel top that can contain monthly buying pressures, and we can fall back into the low 30s from there. But if you can close above that, now you have a rally that I think disrupts this pattern, this lower low, lower high pattern that has played out since July of last year. And then I think you've got a real run for roughly 39.79. That's an early February level. But and then even then at 39.79, you're still holding this long-term pattern of lower lows and lower highs. So this would be a counter trend rally to sell in the upper 30s.
Like to me, the way I see it, it got to break 42, 45. It got to be in that range, um, in my opinion, for to really have my confidence of like, yo, this is out of the this is the beginning of a new trend for me
Yeah, that would
to
be a
really,
violation of this high here,
yeah,
41. If you did get above 42, that completely disrupts the pattern.
yeah.
I
It
yeah,
completely disrupts. It shows that people are building confidence, people are buying the stock, volume is kicking up. It would be a slow rise, but right now is this is not showing us. It's showing us people are slowly selling this
yeah, it's
and
still a
looking
bear
to get.
market.
Yeah,
No two ways about it.
it's
And in
not no
fact,
two ways about
yeah, and your next sell opportunity is 34.52.
it.
That's probably another way of saying it.
Yeah. Well, that's it, guys. Man, I really appreciate. Man, we're definitely going to be doing this next week. I saw there was a ton of like other people asking for Kerry to do stocks. Um, we're trying to like not take it to where it's like a last an hour and 30 minutes, but
How long did
definitely
we go
keep.
today?
Oh no, only
Close to an
38.
hour.
It's not bad. Only
Oh,
38
nice,
minutes.
nice.
Yeah.
We could do one
Well,
more. I did come ready with one more stock, or do you think we're
let's
going
go.
overtime? All right,
Let's go.
um, because you threw this one my way, and so I thought, heck, I did the homework. I might as well show you the work, right?
Oh
This
yes.
this is the D wave quantum symbol QBTS. So if you're looking at this big picture, and this stock has the potential for incredible volatility, we were in this sort of really quiet range, and then very quiet. Well, not quietly. There was a big rally here that began in November, and we had a buy signal in December, the week of December 2nd, above this classic horizontal channel. And I know that if I were analyzing this at the time and I wasn't, I would expect the possibility of longer term gains up to this full channel extension at 1229. I would have called this, with that kind of volatility that we saw, like a 1 year target. And instead, we almost reached it in 3 or 4 weeks. 1141 was the high. 1160 is the all time high in the week of the IPO back in June of 22. But 1229 is a big ceiling for this stock. And this is my
Yeah.
upside breakout longer term. So you've got 363, the channel we broke out of in December. That is your base of support into later year. And this, if ever tested, a ceiling of resistance. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit and finish with, oops, wrong chart. This is it. Finish with this. So these are your, so if I could, I'll just get, you've got the high of the low of 644, and you've got a 3/8 upside Fibonacci from that Deist high to that more recent low of January 13th. And so the two combined, 644, 667, we pushed through that last week, but we didn't close above it. And if we close this week, Friday, above 667, I see 848 as a 1 to 3 week target, depending on volatility. This could also be the beginning of a big run up to that 12 and change. But I think if you're looking at like 2 to 3 week swings, above 667, 848, 5/8 Fibonacci, we might actually top out there for a week or more. If we get above 848, we're looking for 12. Downside, the low settlement price from a couple weeks ago is 527. That's also very similar to last week's low of 538. If we close this week below 527, we retest that 363 long-term support. That's kind of your near-term, breaking it down into a 2 to 3 week framework. But this is the big picture, buying 363 and just holding for the low tens in the months to follow.
I can tell you what happened to the stock. You actually would have been right. Nvidia invested like $100 million into this company, and then turned around on presentation day. The CEO says that quantum computing is 10 to 15 years out, and then stopped this whole momentum real quick.
Oh,
Everything turned around. So one thing is cool about stocks like these is that, you know, at the moment you can't probably pinpoint it, but if you look back in history, you can tell why some stocks got stopped in their trend because of a news source or an outlet. You know, like today.
sure.
Today's a
Yeah.
today's a great example of something happening. And even though, like, in reality, we really don't know
NVIDIA.
nothing. But we
Hmm.
got so scared that everybody sold off. You know, I mean,
Right.
S&P was down, Nasdaq was down, Nvidia was down. Like a lot of companies, like lost. You know, I mean, Nvidia was down 16, like what 20% the entire day,
Yeah.
ended like 16 negative 16. But like it just tells you how things can abruptly change, and either that's a buying opportunity, and stuff like that might not happen for another 6 8 months or a
And
year
there's
or
still
two.
fear in this market. If you're looking at the NVIDIA chart, there's still fear. There's still this remnant possibility that the announcement by this Chinese stock was a significant game changer for AI, for American dominance. And if that pans out, you're going to, that's going to be chaos for NVIDIA. But right now, it's a spook, shaking out the longs, buy opportunities below at 104 and change through the rest of the year, really. So it's kind of that.
Yeah, and then you never know, things could turn around, and then Nvidia could be popping up. You never know. It could be at 150, 160 again, and boom.
It certainly could be. We've seen these moves before.
We've seen them before. Hey man, I appreciate everybody watching. Thanks to wickedstocks.com. Check them out. I appreciate everybody watching last week. I know a ton of people watched last week on YouTube, and thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank
Peace.
you, Kenny. You have a great day.